everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is probably going to be one of those sort of fun ones. The energy in this is meant to be sort of fun and explorative. But usually what happens when I say that is that some pretty serious things come out. So we won't censor or limit Spirit and what Spirit wants to talk about. But the kind of energy behind this is sort of more fun and more explorative, because the theme, which is what interdimensional superpowers or sort of superhuman, superhero type figure type energy do you embody? And we're both looking at what you consciously get drawn to and also what's within you that could arise and be seen even more. And that is been inspired by the fact that I just got this really quirky, wonderful deck called the Cowgirls and Aliens Oracle from Rockpool Publishing. So this deck, and you can see 3 of the cards there as the choice, is a really fun deck. It's sort of looking at the concept of cowgirls as sort of the more independent, free, superpower sort of energy, but in an intergalactic kind of energy with the aliens, kind of marrying kind of the Wild West with interdimensional energy, and then with a feminine tilt to it. Now, I do want to say about that you don't have to be a woman, identify as a woman for this to be a reading for you. Just think of it as kind of non-binary, I would say. And when we're thinking about alien things, that definitely applies. So this is looking at energy and so forth around those sort of roles and so forth. And I think that over time I'm going to use this deck kind of as a bit of a wild card character kind of deck, but I just wanted to showcase it in its own right for the first reading that I did with it. And I wanted to pair it with a particular tarot that I think is a perfect pairing for it that I have, which is Zeke's Arcana, which I have used before. It's very interdimensional, alien, and very pink in its colouring. So I think it's a perfect pairing. And I can't claim that I thought that up. I saw it on some channel talking about this particular deck. I think it might have been Lisa Pepez's channel, but I'm not sure. So apologies if it was actually someone else who suggested the pairing of these 2 decks, but I think it's inspired in any case. So that's what we'll be doing. Also, just a little warning, I guess, before I even start. I don't know if it's the case with this deck, because I'm just like kind of shuffled and went into this the minute I got it, so I haven't looked at all the different cards. So it may not apply to this deck, but Zeke's Arcana does have very similar comic sort of graphic novel type artwork, but it sometimes has a little bit of stylized nudity. So because of YouTube, I will quickly cover something with a crystal or whatever. I've got sort of crystals and so forth here if I need them, so you'll know that'll happen if it comes up, because it's YouTube can be a bit sensitive about that sort of thing. So if I suddenly am putting something on the card, you'll know why. Okay, so as I say, this is meant to be kind of fun. We're going to be looking at cards from this deck for your conscious sort of superpower energy. So what I'd be asking you to do is when choosing your pile, go to the kind of role here that you could almost see yourself in. It's not going to be the whole thing, because there's going to be another card that's under there that's sort of the more unconscious or other side to your superpower and your interdimensional character, so to speak. Of course, you can go to pile 2 if you always go to pile 2, but otherwise, I think really trying to connect in on what feels right to you. You can go to more than one reading if you want as well too, because you might be an amalgam across a number. There's also a couple of cards from this deck that are also under there, I don't know what they are, which will represent an ally and a adversary that you might be dealing with in your life at the moment at that kind of level as well too. So we'll have a bit of fun with almost role play, I guess, around all of this. So for pile number 1, we have the pilot. For pile number 2, we have the engineer, and for pile number 3, we have the shapeshifter. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the pilot, and that's the sort of conscious energy, like something that you might be able to relate to as a superpower or a superhero type of persona. And the pilot is an explorer. Primarily. It talks about, I will seek out inspiration. It's sort of somebody who will go to different worlds, different experiences. You may really like to travel. You certainly like new things, new innovations, and you like to be master of your own destiny. You would like to be the person who's behind the steering wheel, the person who's navigating. And that's part of your genius. It's part of your superpower. You really can take things forward, and you would be a safe pair of hands for people in taking others on explorations and so forth. So there's something about the new, the inspired, new horizons, new territories. This could be coming up because that's something key to your life at the moment, a new career. You want to move and live somewhere else. You want to travel abroad and really learn about the world. You might even, want to one day, go to Mars or something as our technology takes us there and so forth. This is who you are. You are new territories. In the olden days, you'd have been someone who was out there on the high seas finding the new land. So you're about exploration, and you know that you're about exploration. But you're also about having the resilience and the power and the means to get through, because you also have the highwayman. And this says, I'm determined and I will keep trying. So there's almost a little bit of the iconoclast about you, I'm going to go into new worlds and I'm going to create the worlds and the rules that I want, rather than necessarily just taking on board what's there. Highwaymen, if we think about it, would steal sometimes. I'm not saying you literally are a thief, but they would take and they would demand and they would get what they needed to have this very free life. So I feel that here we're almost, it's not exactly a shadow energy, because I don't feel it's sort of saying that you are per se doing the highwayman sort of stuff of stealing from the rich. But if it was an energy to be a bit more like Robin Hood than anything else. But it is about making sure that you have the resilience to do what is new and to travel as you need. So there's a real sense here of people, whether literally this is the case or whether this is just kind of what your personality is like in general, of I'm going to spend a gap year abroad and I am just going to travel and I'm going to learn new things. And I'll just, I'll work when I have to pay the bills and to pay for the tickets to go to the next place. But otherwise, I'm just going to live by my own resources and I'm going to explore and discover. That's the energy around this, which is a really exciting sort of energy. So let's see where this is playing out for you most, and in what aspect of life. Now, this doesn't mean that it's only in this aspect of life that it's coming up, but we want to get from the Akashic Records Oracle, or the Akashic Truth Oracle, just the kind of area where this exploration is most being triggered at the moment. And this self-determination. That's what I'd get with the highwayman, a kind of resilience and a self-determination. And I will pay my own way, but I will do it as I need it. I'm not going to be caught by the corporate sort of traps and status and all that. I want freedom. There's a very strong freedom energy here. So this is coming out a lot in career and business. Okay, so this is for you. You want a lot of independence. You want to know that you're making your way. You want to know that you're not beholden to other sort of powers and structures and so forth. You want to do something new. So there is a entrepreneurial spirit here, is what I would put together with that. Innovation, inspiration, entrepreneurial, and with the resilience to see something through. So let's see what the advice is around career and business that's relevant to triggering and using this superpower of the great entrepreneur, the great innovator, the seeker of new opportunities, new businesses, all of that kind of energy. Dependence. There's something or someone you are clinging to and it's keeping you from stepping into your light. You have everything you need to succeed and the only approval you need is your own. So this is about finding freedom. So it may be that, you have been working in a particular organisation as an employee and it's time for you to actually go out and take your skills and do your own business, for instance. It could be that you've had some dependency, depending upon your age, on your family, and you're now stepping out to do what is new for you. But this is the perfect set of superpowers, or a kind of superhero energy for someone who is breaking away from dependence and going into making their own way in the world. So you're very well primed to use these skills and they're innate to you. You would not be the sort of person, I think, who would in the long term want to be an employee. I think you would want to run your own business or be the boss. But it's a journey and you've got the resilience to go on that journey. Now, will be interesting when we get a couple of other cards from here. I think that possibly here, we'll see what comes up, but I get a sense that maybe the adversary one is probably not necessarily an adversary so much as the energy you need to move away from, where the dependence could be. But we'll see a little bit more before we get with that, because we're going to have a look with Zeke's Arcana, with the tarot, at a little bit more detail. So we're going to look a little bit more about being the pilot And we're going to look a little bit more about being the highwayman, and then how these come together and align for your best outcome, particularly around having the freedom to follow your own business, career, vocation, which I think is what this is talking about. So firstly, let's get a little bit more of an idea about your superpower as a pilot, as a navigator of the new and the innovative. We have the Nine of Wands, Justice reversed, the Seven of Pentacles reversed, the Six of Cups, and the Page of Swords reversed. Okay, something's triggering this. This is what this is saying right now. So these are probably very much sort of like innate superpowers that you have in terms of like personas, but they're being triggered by something. It is being triggered by something, I would say, vocational, career-wise, money-wise, where there's a dependence you need to step away from. And you are almost there. You're almost ready to do it, but it requires a separation from some sort of contractual arrangement, or it requires you almost tilting over to the highwayman here and doing something that's outside of what is expected of you at this point. So breaking a contract, for instance, saying like, I'm close to finishing something, but I'm feeling a slave to it. I'm going to quit my job, for instance. Now, I would never advocate run out and quit your job unless you've got something else to go for, because, you know, you obviously need to pay the bills or whatever. But there is something here about, I think, breaking a contract or going outside the norm. And there is a combination of these two here. Now, this is not saying that you are going to become some sort of crime lord, but there is something about maybe you've exhausted all the things that you could do legally at the moment around some sort of career thing or within the construct or contract that you're in, because with the Seven of Pentacles reversed, something is no longer really returning an investment for you. So even though you may feel, for instance, if you were in a job and you are coming up close to where there would be the performance bonus, but you've got another opportunity to go for, and you really know the bonus is not going to make up for the fact that this is a cul-de-sac that you're caught in career-wise, then you make the decision to break away from that rather than holding out for that, because the longer-term thing here is not giving you the freedom, the innovation that you need. There's something in terms of being a pilot that was there from when you were very young. There's something about the wish to explore and innovate that was there from when you were very young, but it looks as though you've suppressed it to some degree with the Page of Swords. It's like you haven't vocalized that. That's why I think we have the highwayman sort of pushing to come forward and say it's time to speak about the new things that you wanted to do, the innovations you wanted to do. And it may even be for some of you that this is a test where you are, that you feel dependent on something and you've really now got to see, can I turn this around, vocalize a different, a new approach and take it forward? Or do I have to go out on my own because it's exhausted itself where I am? But there is a push here for doing something new. And I feel, you know, in the career or vocation, which we're talking about, it's triggering something bigger though in you. I think that there's something very inherent in you that is freedom loving and innovative and new. You're a very independent soul, but I think it's like the balance of that compared to the material. So that's what you're working out at the moment. So on an unconscious level, the highwayman is coming up. So let's see a little bit about that in regard to this situation. High Priestess, the Hermit. Wow, it's very spiritual connection here. So I'm saying I don't feel like this is like breaking the law. I feel like it's expressing, you know, the self. The Nine of Cups reversed, the Hanged Man, and then the Four of Pentacles. Okay, all right. So firstly, what I would say is that of the two of these, this is the most conscious one. I want to do something new, and therefore I'm pushing against things that are holding me back. But the strongest part of you is the highwayman. The strongest part of you, because there are 3 major arcana out of the 5 there, and there's only 1 major arcana out of the 5 there. There's a big push. Plus your spiritual energy, the High Priestess and the Hermit are there. This is very true to who you are on a spiritual level. You have a lot of resilience spiritually, and a lot of kind of connection to what your soul purpose is, as opposed to just you know, the material and so forth. And it's that side of you is getting ready to sort of push out and do whatever is necessary, because you know I'm gonna conscious level, you know something is not returning on investment. And on a soul level, you're not getting the joy out of it either. So it's kind of like neither way. It may have well been that you're in a job that initially was giving you sort of new things to do, but you've exhausted what you can do with that. And you know you've got the skills and abilities to go and do something else. And that might be a sacrifice, but you're prepared to do the sacrifice. You're prepared to sacrifice the foundation you have at the moment for something better. And if you think about the kind of spirit of a highwayman, as I say, they're out there in the Wild West and they're living by their wits. They're very much outside of the system. So there's sort of something about that for you. And whether it's literally you leave a workplace or something, or whether it's just that you're at the point now where to take your career further, you have to be innovative to the level that it is almost even incomprehensible to those that you're dealing with. You're doing something very, very different, even if it's not understood at first, to take things forward. But you've got a really strong energy there. You're very, very strong in your preparedness to almost take no prisoners and just move forward. So let's get 3 cards for how to align these two best. And they're not really antithetical to each other, but it's kind of like, for a while you were happy enough with just new things to learn. Now you won't be satisfied by that. Now you need to be kind of the law unto yourself. You need the freedom to really make this occur. So what brings those two things together? Queen of Coins reversed. The Queen of Cups reversed. In fact, this is one of the ones where we just have to put that there. And the 5 of Swords. Yeah, there's something you need to walk away from. At the moment, it's knowing you need to walk away from anything that's not emotionally and materially fulfilling for you. But you'll know, you're the sort of person in many ways that couldn't ultimately commit to something that wasn't innovative, new, and was really using those skills. Like you could do it for a while, but you couldn't do it forever, because you need to have the dream. You need to have that sort of sense that you are exploring and bringing in the new, and you will walk away. You are prepared to walk away when it's necessary. So you're very strong on that level. You're very self-reliant. That's a very big part of this. Okay, so what are you going to encounter? So as I say, as you're doing this first card will be an ally or a friend energy. The second card was going to be an adversary, but I feel, we'll see what it is, because, it could be an adversary, but I feel like it's more, what are you moving away from? I think that ally might be more what you're moving towards, and the adversary might be more what you're moving away from, but it will be people or energies around you that are like that. So around the ally, we have the bartender. I will give others support and listen with empathy. Okay, so there's someone who will give you sustenance, someone who will give you support, someone who will listen to you, somebody who wants to hear you. This may suggest that where you are at the moment, one of the things that is stopping your sense of freedom, autonomy, innovation, entrepreneurial stuff is that you aren't being heard. And that makes sense with the Page of Swords reversed. You're not able to speak the truth. So there are allies coming into the field who will listen, and will be empathic with what you're doing. What about what you're either moving away from or you have to confront? The mutant, I will take care of myself. Okay, you may have been holding a responsibility for others, actually. Now, that's very interesting with these 2 coins reversed. You could have, this could be, so to give you an example, this could be someone who's been a parent and the children have now grown up enough that you can actually go and do something for yourself. So it's not really, and you can go back to work, for instance, but you really want to do something that's exciting and new. You don't want to be just kind of looking after more people. You want to be able to do something that takes yourself forward and is your vision. This makes me feel as though some of this is a high degree of responsibility around what you did, and not necessarily the support coming in your direction as well. So it adds an extra layer to this, a part of this wish to be free and follow your own passion and your own vision is because maybe you've been looking after others. You may even actually have been supporting and coaching others in their difference. It might be a natural thing that you've done, and you've kind of almost got other people to go and do this, and it's your time to do it now. But what you did for others was a bit like this. You were the person who could hear and see the difference and support others. Now it's time for you to have that as well too and move into something that matters to you. And as I say, this will probably first show up around career vocation, but it could be a broader thing around getting a reciprocal energy and support from others for what is different, because I think you've championed it in others, and it's now time for others to champion it in you. So what familiar spirits will support you in this? Hen, maternal approach. Okay, yeah, there's something about that. And this connects here. I think, and as I say, it doesn't have to be maternal in the sense of like female, but you have had a very nurturing effect on others. We're getting this other layer. It's starting to explain it to me a little bit more clearly. You've put a lot of effort into hearing others, supporting others, nurturing others. And that's fine, but it's time for you. There's something now where it's time for you. And you will get this support of a similar thing. It's like good karma. Good karma's coming back to you. So you can get the support you need that you've given to others. You earned this. That's what I'm saying. It's not lawless, but it's time for you. It's time for you to go, I'm breaking all the rules that I've been living by in one way to be free. But it's not lawlessness. It's just being free and using your strength. And the other familiar spirit is the cat, independence, that brings independence. Independence from just being the person who looks after others to being someone who gets that support as well, but can really pursue what you want to do. Cats are very clever too. Cats are very clever, very strategic, and very flexible. There is a kind of magic about them that looks a bit like a magician's hat. So you really do have the magic and the capacity to do this now. So you're either, as I say, leaving some sort of parental role and actually now going to be able to go out and start a business or do a job that really allows you to expand and everything. And this is your time, or you're leaving a workplace because you are going to start your own business, or you're going to actually give up all responsibilities, career and everything for the moment and just go out and have a gap year and travel and discover who you want to be, so that when you come back, you can actually use that in the way that you want to use it. So it could be any of those things. What will balance you best then to use these gifts? And these gifts are about resilience and innovation and so forth, and finally claiming your space. So we'll just get some chakra energy for you. We'll show you where you are balanced or where you need to bring balance in. So firstly, we have crown chakra. I sense spiritual growth, balance. So yeah, you know this. You can feel it coming in. You can feel that your time is coming. And there is a spiritual underpinning. This is why we had the High Priestess and the Hermit. Although we're talking about something that has a very material outcome, at least initially, something very spiritual in this. And you are very spiritually strong. That highwayman energy is very, very strong. Then we have the solar plexus. Overactive. I do act self-centered. Now, I actually think that's not true. I think that's what's been holding you back. I think you think that you've done that. Or you think that if you go and pursue what you want to do here and live by your rules, that's going to be the case. I think that's why the bartender energy is going to be so important, because I think it reflects back that, in fact, you've done a lot to support others and you haven't been selfish, and it's okay to do it for yourself. But it's a balance that you have to come to terms with to feel comfortable with this. And we have another solar plexus. Overactive, I do act bossy. Okay, all right. Now, that's an interesting connection. Maybe something to think about. Because, again, with the highwayman, a little bit scary, maybe, very strong, very resilient. And so what are you getting from that? And how do you translate that into the exploration and so forth? You may go, okay, what I get out of it is that I get to be boss. If I'm the one who's helping everybody else all the time, I get to be boss. Maybe you need to move a bit away from that and not feel that that's self-centered. Because it could be, in a weird way, the self-centered thing is what you're getting out of being bossy. So I think you need to work out how to best use your strength, because you have a lot of it, pile one. Okay, let's get some stars to guide you as well too. Vega, luminosity, creativity, talent, fame. You're meant to get out there and be seen for something new, known for something new. I get a very kind of like Elon Musk feeling about this, that kind of thing, but equally, in the kind of creative arts, those that sort of bring about something very new, a different way of doing things, a different way of singing, a different way of presenting, all of that kind of thing. And Virgo, practicality, patience, organisation and details. Okay, so you're very good at this bit. this is what you're wanting to kind of translate and open it up, because I think this is that you've been so good at the kind of grounded energy that you naturally, help others with it. You naturally do well in your career. But as I say, there's only so far. You need to actually look at what is innovative and new and groundbreaking, not just the structure. But once you do know that, you do have the ability to manifest this, bring this into being. You have the resilience and the energy to make this work. So and you know what you need to make it work. So those two things, the sort of innovation, but also the structure, is a really good balance to make this work for you. Okay, so lastly, although as I said, I'm going to probably use this deck more as a wildcard energy as time goes on, I want to end with a different wildcard energy with the blue dragonfly. So we know for you that your entrepreneurial, explorative self, particularly around material, career and vocation, is meant your time is now. And it may ruffle a few feathers, but you will have support, and you are meant to find that independence now. And to understand there was nothing wrong with what you were doing before. It proves some of your strength, but it is time to do something else. So what is a wildcard energy, just to close out this advice for you? Ooh, final point, game over, conclusion, need to close, transmutation at the end. Yeah, that this is not a negotiable change, basically. This is necessary now. Like, I really think, if you've been clinging to a particular career or a particular role with people or whatever, you've just about exhausted what you can get from it. If you reimagine it and move forward and so forth, you can do something with it. But you need to understand there's an ending. This is like getting the death card, and like kind of like you make the choice and you move on. You need to end something to begin something new. That's the other piece that you need to know, that it's not an either or here. You've got to claim your superhero powers here and create the world that you want, because the world that you're maybe comfortable in is not going to serve you any further. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Engineer, and the Engineer card says, I will make time for myself to focus without distractions. So engineers to me are people who understand how things work. They can design and create. They can also fix and remediate. They get how things work. Very good systems thinking, very good pattern recognition, very intelligent. So you have a very strong understanding of how things work in your domain. You probably have a natural ability to learn very quickly. And you could be a person who has a huge impact on how things work, because you can effectively take the screwdriver or the other tools and sort of shift the energy of something. So you have a creative and a maintenance and a renewal type of superpower energy operating, and you're aware of that. In some aspect in your life, or in most aspects in your life, you really get how things work. You really do. You're the go-to person for, setting up the computer, for instance, that kind of thing. And that is meant actually to take you very far, because when we look at the unconscious or the emerging energy, we have the alien queen, I will celebrate my successes. You are meant to be very successful with this. Now, I don't know whether we're going to be looking at career for this, because we are going to use the Akashic Truth Oracle to see what area of life this is particularly important in. But I would dare say that in your career, business, material things, that ability, and probably when you've been at school and things like that, has been a real jewel in the crown for you, literally in the crown. And you are meant to be now moving to a level where you are very successful in something, where your understanding of how things work is going to bring you great success. Now over here we have a couple of cards also from this deck, and the first one will be a friend or ally energy. The second will be an adversary or a energy that you're moving away from. So we'll look at that a bit later. But before we look with the tarot, we're just going to use the Akashic Truth Oracle just to see the area in life that's involved and what the first layer of advice is for you about where you are meant to use your very strong understanding of how things work to be very, very successful, because this is what this is talking about. Health and wellness. Okay, so this could be that this is something you'll do for your career or some sort of other thing, in terms of if there is anything, if you are anywhere in the health and wellness thing, business-wise, creativity, actively content creation, therapy, medicine or whatever, you're going to be very, very, very successful because you really get how it works. But on other levels, for your own health and wellness, you get yourself, you understand yourself as a mind, body and spirit, like how it all interacts together, what you need to focus on to get the best outcomes. And you're going to be very successful, very strong with this. If any of you have physical ambitions, you're athletes or something like that, definitely going to be very good at that. So there's something in that area that's very powerful. Let's see what advice there is around that at the moment, why you're focusing, your understanding of how things work and where your success is around health. I mean, you could be dealing with a health issue, in which case, very strong indication it's going to work out well. But let's just see the advice for you. Follow your passion. If there's something that excites and motivates you, it's a message from the Akashic record that it can lead to your abundance. Don't silence us. Okay, so this may be even broader than just sort of physical health and emotional health and so forth. This might be a very strong indication that the most healthy thing for your well-being is to now pursue what you really want to do spiritually, career-wise, as I say, health-wise, whatever it might be, because you are going to be very successful. So this is a very strong message about using these superpowers because you know what you're doing. You've got the smarts. You're not just kind of hoping and wishing on a star. You really do understand how whatever this is works. And in general, you're like that. I think you work out how things work and then you build from that. So let's get a little bit more information on that. We're going to do a little bit more about being the engineer, and then we're going to see a little bit more about what the alien queen is when you leverage this for success. And then we'll look at how to draw together your capacity to understand how that leads to and marries with your own personal success. So firstly, around the engineer, a bit more around that. We have the Seven of Swords. There's the clever mind. You're very, very clever. The Five of Swords. The Page of Swords reversed. Okay. The Emperor. And then the Eight of Cups. All right, okay. So this could be playing out in anything, I have to say. I mean, it could even be playing out in a relationship. You're really understanding how to make a relationship work and whether you can stand in your sovereignty in it, which you could, an emperor with a queen, if that's something that's going on there, and that's not about genders. But I think if it was around a relationship, you're using your understanding and dynamics about what a healthy relationship is to decide whether or not you are getting the clarity of communication that allows for an equal partnership, or whether you need to move away and you're prepared to move away. One of your big strengths is that you will negotiate, but only to a point. You know what the non-negotiables are. You know what you could do to change something and what would actually make it fall apart. You're very, very clear on that. And you can pick up a flaw in an argument a mile away. I would not want to be challenging you in a debate, I've got to say, because you really do see it very clearly. This is a mastery that you have, but part of it is you're prepared to walk away if something isn't working. So you know what your non-negotiables are, and you just know. It's not even from you. It's really interesting. The energy I get is not a kind of conceited, I'm powerful, I'm successful. It's almost like the success happens almost without even thinking about it, because you're really focused on, how does this work and how do I make it work? You're very much a problem solver, a negotiator. You just know. I think you'd be the sort of person that people would come to for answers and so forth, because you just seem to know what's going on. But as I say, they better come to you with honesty, because if they don't, you can pick it a mile away. So let's see what the alien queen, what is that kind of sense of success and mastery is bringing to the table. If the engineer is sort of like doing the assessment, like this is something that you're doing at the moment around whatever aspects of your life it's touching upon. We have the Nine of Wands reversed, the High Priestess reversed, the Ten of Swords, Justice, the Empress reversed. Okay, all right. So I think you've got a bit of a cause, actually. I think this health and well-being, I mean, like, it could be playing out physically for you, and it could be that, like, your sort of attitude to causes and what's going on in the world, you might be very, very sensitive to that, and you can almost, on a very kinesthetic level, pick up the nuances about what's going on and get cues on that kind of level of, like, gut instinct, all the kind of clairsensors, clairgustance and clairalliance and so forth, like the ones that you get physically. It could be very, very strong with that. But this looks to me like what the queen energy, the alien queen energy, the success you want is to right a wrong, rebalance things, because we have the Emperor upright here. So right now it's like the Emperor energy is dominant. The Emperor's energy is a little bit suppressed, and we've got the alien queen there. So I think there's something in this about getting balance on the divine masculine and feminine. So it could be in a relationship, it could be in a workplace, it could be even within the body, the sense of action and so forth versus the kind of sense of nurturing and so forth. But there's something there that like the queen is arising to bring the dominant feminine energy up after something that's not true. So you've found a flaw in the weave in something. It could be in a health practice, it could be in a relationship that is making it unhealthy, it could be in a workplace, whatever it is. You are going to bring an end to the obfuscation and the lack of proper communication, and you're very, very much of the mind around this. Like you can't be hoodwinked on any level. As I say, I wouldn't want to be arguing with you. You can't be hoodwinked. You know that things are sensitive. You know that there may not be enough energy and enough healthy energy around this to bring something through as it is. So you know something has to give, and you are very pragmatic about that. But you want to bring back the growthful energy around things. If you are dealing with a health issue, and there is a possibility with this because of the health thing, you are destined for success because you're going to get the right information, you're going to understand it yourself, you're going to get things into balance, and you're going to re-nurture the energy. You're going to let go of anything that is stopping your body from being growthful and so forth. So it's very, very, very clever. Very, very clever. So let's see how these two energies come together for you. We have the Six of Wands. There's the victory. You are going to be successful. It's been very, very clear about that. We have the Eight of Wands. Yeah, and it's going to be very liberating. Lots of energy coming through. If you felt a restriction in energy, which I think you have, you are going to liberate that. And the Eight of Swords. Yeah, you're going to break through. Your cleverness can break through the sort of mental restrictions and bring the freedom and the victory. There is something here that there's something that's unhealthy, and it could be something in you physically, but you're going to find the cure. You definitely are. Or it's in a situation or a relationship or something, but this is all about liberating that energy. That's why the Queen's coming forward. Because usually you're kind of you're almost a little bit independent of power. You're not really that interested in power. You're interested in knowing how things work, and you're just very curious about everything. But the Queen needs to resolve something. She's going to win with something. So that's a kind of different energy. So when this is going on, let's have a look at the energies, the external energies. So this is other people around you. So the first card we're going to look at is a friendly energy, an ally energy. The second one is either something you need to move away from in this situation, because there is some energy about moving away from stuff. So people who are like that, or it could be an adversary, someone that you have to kind of battle with on some level. And I wouldn't want to be that person, to be frank, but we'll see what the energy is. So firstly, an ally energy for you around this. The Sheriff, I will stand up for what's right. Okay, so you also get what's going on in terms of the law, in terms of all of that kind of thing. You have people on your side who will see what you're saying is true and fair. You're coming from a very ethical base. You're breaking through something, and then the justice energy is really connects with that. So your inner queen, your inner alien queen, gets on very well with the local authority. So you're fine, whatever this is. And if any kind of authority. So again, if this is a medical thing, when you're talking to doctors, your understanding of it and your ideas will be well heard. It's like you are fitting in with established power very, very well, which fits with the engineer. You know how things work. What about either adversarial or move away from energy? The blacksmith, I will take pride in a hard day's work. Okay. So you may be a bit of a workaholic. So in this sort of you might be so focused on doing this that you might be a bit of a workaholic, and it could be affecting your well-being. Or it could be that you're shifting something. Say this was in a workplace and you're looking for the health of the workplace and the health of people. Just as an example, you could be coming in as an efficiency expert. You could be very well connected with the powers that be. You could have a natural presence and understanding because of your knowledge. But you might find some pushback from people who'd like to almost wear the mantle of being the hard work. Like if you come in and do that, are you making what they do lesser or something like that? I remember once looking at things like workforce planning in an organisation, and we were looking at, there was a particular time of the year where one particular team or area or department within the organisation worked really long hours, and happened every year at a particular time in the budgetary cycle. And we were starting to look at with workforce planning that if you actually brought in people with skills from other areas and mentored them on what was necessary for that process, they would get the development to take out to their areas, and you would have a swell of the workforce for that period of time, and therefore not have all the issues about the long work. And I actually had such a pushback from the head of that department, it didn't happen. And it was like he was in love with the problem, because while they had to do these stoic long hours, he was the hero seeing it through. If one had come in with a more efficient way of doing it, suddenly he wouldn't have been such a hero. So don't be surprised sometimes. You might have the most logical thing that would actually be for the good of everybody, but sometimes if people feel that's going to affect their sense of being the hero, being the hard worker, being the stoic one, you can get some pushback. So you will have support from authority figures, but you may have a pushback from those who have some vested interest in the problem. And don't be surprised by that. Okay, so then let's have a look at how you can be supported. So we'll look with a couple of familiar spirit energies to support you. Cat. Oh, this came up for one of the other ones. Independence. Yeah, your independence of thought, your cleverness, your strategy. You're like an efficiency expert, actually. If I was looking at it organisationally, like an efficiency expert who comes in, your authority comes from the fact that you brilliantly know how things work. The powers that be like it. You're very strategic, you're very independent. It's like you don't have skin in the game of this outcome. Now, if it is about your health or health of the relationship, you obviously have more skin in the game then, but I think that you still can be independent. Your mind can say, I'm going to stick with the facts rather than just, like supporting my own emotional confirmation bias or something like that. Then in terms of another familiar spirit for you, swallow, rebirth and hope. Okay, so there is something about being reborn. There's something about solving the problem, new vitality, new health and well-being. Swallow is taking you forward on that level. So that's a powerful energy to move outside of the blocks that there might be. What about you within your own balance? Let's have a look at some chakra energy, what may or may not need to be balanced for you around this. So we have a solar plexus chakra to start. Okay, this came up for one of the others. Some of you might have gone to more than one reading, and that's perfectly fine. I do act bossy, overactive. Okay. I think you're a natural boss, actually. They say be a boss. I think you are, because you know what you're doing. I think you might... okay, there's a couple of things. I think that you might give yourself a hard time about that sometimes, because I think you really are more purely about what is the healthy, good, sensible outcome here. But it's like you can see it so clearly, and I think sometimes you feel like, I've got to pull back rather than push forward. But the alien queen wants to be recognised there, So I don't think you're as bossy as you think. But people who feel that your solutions may diminish them in some way may feel that way. So a little bit of thinking about not just winning the argument with the facts, but also how to bring people along with you rather than just telling them this is the way it's going to be. Could be something to think about. You've got the sacral chakra. I feel arrogance. You are really, really smart, and you're very creative, and you're very innovative, and you are going to be very successful with it. I think you kind of give yourself a hard time. I think you do. And I think, so this is where this becomes powerful, because if people go, like they push back because of that, you could feel like, maybe I'm pushing it more than I should. So I think it's kind of like your heart's knocking on the door of your mind, because your mind is so strong. And it's reminding you about the connection, and healthy stuff is that way as well. But I feel like you're giving yourself more of a hard time than you need to, but it is something to think about, you know. When you're the smartest person in the room, what does that mean? And more often than not, you probably are, pile 2. Okay. And then we have the root chakra. I am rooted, balanced. Well, you know that you are good at what you do. You know that. You know your skills and all that kind of thing. So kind of maybe own them a bit more. It's not really arrogant to know this is your thing. Other people have other things, you know. Knowing how things work is a very valuable thing, but other people have other things that bring in. You know, like other people might be more sort of emotional and all more about the feelings or whatever. Everybody has something to offer. So instead of worrying about whether you're being a bit dominant and arrogant around knowing how things work to your strengths and to your success, but also allow other people to have their space. I think that's about the only thing. And and if you think about it the same way you think about other things, about what makes things work, if you think about the dynamics of dealing with other people, you could understand it just as much, rather than kind of feeling like you're in that sort of space. Because it's something that is, I think, gnawing at you a bit, and it's probably why the Queen is a little bit more unconscious and a little bit more kept down. You go more to, well, I know the answers, rather than I'm trying to be bossy. But like, you're naturally drawn there. So I reckon that, you know, people who are in power around you see you as a powerful person as well. Okay, so let's get you some stars to guide you as well. It's an interesting one. I mean, like, you really do know how to make things healthy, but I think you do give yourself a bit of a hard time. The sun, vitality, life force, energy. Yeah, you are. You're very... Think about it. It's not about being bossy or arrogant. It's just understanding how things work, bringing light to stuff, bringing a life force, and knowing what your path is and that you're meant to be successful. And Pleiades, healing, compassion, understanding, peace. Yeah, like, this is why it was talking about health and well-being. It's talking about it because what you do by understanding things, particularly if you don't go into this space, you look into what actually grounds everything. But you own what you do know, and you're not bossy, but you are help direct things because you understand how things work. You're not arrogant, but you're bringing what you bring to the table. You bring healing. You own what your role is, and you own what your success is meant to be unapologetically, but you do it towards what you are really calibrated to, towards the truth and towards the best outcome, not towards getting all the glittering prizes and being told you're the smartest person in the room. You don't need to even have that said to you, because you just are, I would say. So that's something to be aware of. Okay, so to finish up, I'm just going to use another deck that I use as a wild card, because I feel like this whole energy is about understanding the wild card energy within yourself. So if we know that you are the efficiency expert, the engineer, the person who gets how things work, and you are looking at a healthy way and a way for your well-being and the well-being of others to take on your inner alien queen and to claim your success, what's the last piece of advice from Spirit on a wild card energy for you? Oh, wow. Divine feminine. Yeah, it has a lot to do with that. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are in workplaces or something like that are very divine masculine, but you're just as clever and like, you know, there's that kind of bias that happens. You are very much about reasserting the divine feminine. And again, it doesn't matter what your gender is or you identify with, but, you know, and it's about abundance, growth and sort of creativity. So you're meant to do this. It's not arrogant, it's not bossy, but sometimes, particularly people who have very feminine aspect, when they do this, they can sometimes, this very same behavior that in a man or somebody who has a very masculine activity would just be seen as dynamic, can be called bossy and everything. So I think there is something in this as well too about understanding how things work and bringing that into balance and healing the energy so that you can truly make things better for yourself and for other people. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the Shapeshifter. Now, the Shapeshifter card says, I will get to know my true self and be comfortable with who I am. And you can sort of see that there, looking one way, but also in the mirror something else, the capacity to be many things in one. And it makes me think of Walt Whitman saying, I am large, I contain multitudes. And I think this is true of all of us. Now, what's interesting is you consciously know that. You know that you're a bit different, or that you can be a bit of a chameleon and be whatever you need to be in a circumstance, but you will also really honour all those aspects of yourself. I think that the unconscious or the emerging side of your superpower or your superhero role is preaching that gospel of inclusion and support to diverse and difference to others, because we have the preacher here and it says, I will be open-minded and kind to others. So I think there's a very strong thing here about seeing your diversity and the diversity of others and acceptance of others, and getting out there and talking about it to some degree. So it's living it yourself, and then from your own lived experience, talking about it, preaching it, taking that out there. I feel very encouraged to see something like that. There's an enormous amount of misrepresentation of diversity and inclusion at the moment going on politically, and it is a misrepresentation. Because all diversity and inclusion is about is removing barriers that bring about illegitimate outcomes, and yet it's being painted in the exact opposite way. It's being painted as though it's all just rampant tokenism. Now, maybe sometimes it's not well applied in an organisation or a political party or whatever, but the reality is that true diversity and inclusion, where we celebrate what we have that is unique in us and we accept and celebrate what is in other people, can only ever come out with a better meritocracy, a better outcome for all. So to see that, I find that really encouraging, to see that in coming up in a collective reading so strongly here, because it's important. It's important that people own it and understand it enough for themselves, and you do that, to be able to articulate it in a way that cuts through all of the garbage, and it is utter garbage that is being said against that. So I think that's a really encouraging thing to see. I don't often talk about politics because my politics is kind of multi-layered and it doesn't really sit with one party or another. But this is sort of something it's been part of my career and so forth my entire life, to care about this sort of thing and to see the actual speed to productivity that comes from understanding difference and celebrating difference, and also the importance of that spiritually and morally. So very, very encouraging to see that as a sort of superhero energy. Let's have a look with the Akashic Truth Oracle about what aspect of your life, your capacity to know your difference and your diversity and your multiplicity and your many aspects and talents, and to be able to preach that same thing, to be so confident, so self-actualized that you will only ever be kind or supportive to others. What aspect of life in particular is that happening with? Oh, romance and partnership, beautiful. So this, I think it's like a reward. I think this is wanting to talk to you about a reward, because I think your energy is lovely. Like the energy that came across with that is lovely. And I think if you can understand your difference and your specialness and your magic, and you will also be kind and understand it in others, that is such a beautiful, beautiful sort of grounding for romance and partnership. So let's see an advice for you. Is this something that you are now going to heal in yourself and others, or is it something that you can now leverage? What is the advice just coming out the gate on this? Bring balance. Oh, wow. You're putting too much energy into something, creating lack somewhere else. Take action now to correct the situation or risk further imbalance, which could lead to undesired results. I don't think you're doing it, but I think you're sensing it. This is why you're going to sort of like the balance within love and relationship around this sort of thing is to understand that we are all valuable and that we all bring something, and that all the qualities, whether it's in a partnership or in a family or in a community, become balanced. That's what it's about. But I think that it may be saying that you've spent a lot of time understanding this in yourself. It's time now to bring it out into the world. Now, here we have two other cards from this deck. We're going to get to these after the tarot. The first card will be an ally energy for you around all of this. And the second card will either be an adversary or an energy that you kind of need to move away from to bring this balance in and to be able to preach the gospel on your truth. So we're going to use tarot. Firstly, we're going to ask a bit more about the shapeshifter, about how you've come to understand and know your true self and be comfortable with its diversity. And then we will ask a little bit about the preacher, the message that is arising in you as part of your superpower or superhero journey. So firstly, a bit more about the shapeshifter energy. The Lovers was definitely potentially connecting to something in relation to relationship, And I did say that there could be some stuff in the artwork I need to be a little bit circumspect on, so we'll just put that there for the moment. The Empress, the Seven of Cups reversed, the Four of Pentacles. Okay, and this is an additional card in this, the Patron reversed. Okay, all right, okay. I think this is what's tilting to where you're coming. Even the fact that we've got a mirror being shown again here. Sorry, I just tilted the camera. So this, you knowing yourself so well and being comfortable with yourself so well will make your relationship decisions nurturing, caring, and abundant and bountiful. And very realistic. You know who you are. You don't, and it's not sugar-coated. You're not sort of overemphasizing anything. You're not underemphasizing anything. And you've got a really good foundation, for what you're going to have here. But to either draw in the relationship, make it more, or help others with it, you actually have to move away from just focusing on yourself and getting the message out there. Turning the mirror around. You are being called to become a patron of others because you have worked this out yourself. And whether it's then that there's a great relationship that comes as a reward, or whether you already have that, so you're walking the talk and you can show it, you're being called to take this message out and to reflect what you have known about yourself out to the world so that other people will have that. Because it's very nurturing, it's very caring, and it's very realistic. So I'm saying, this is what drives me nuts about the anti-diversity and inclusion stuff, because it's actually a really, really logical thing, and the way that it's been misrepresented is it's not more realistic. It's not more sort of business-like or any of those sort of things. It's quite the opposite. It's a very emotional reaction to something that actually is common sense. But anyway, so I won't get all preachy. This is something you're meant to be thinking about for yourself. So let's see a little bit about the preacher energy, like the message of taking your understanding of yourself and your acceptance of yourself out to being kindness and acceptance of others. So we have the Tower reversed. I'll just move this now. So it's going to be done incrementally. You don't do it all in a day. The Six of Swords reversed. The Five of Pentacles. The Six of Cups. The Four of Wands. Okay, it's a journey, and it may be a journey for others, or it may be a journey for you as well. We start with the fact that Rome wasn't built in a day. So when we're talking about a fundamental change, which your Tower is, when it's reversed, it's actually working well when it's that way, because it's allowing it step by step. You can take this message out in a way that can be accepted, a way that people can relate to, literally. Because at first, whatever you're talking about in understanding, accepting yourself is not what everybody's been taught. It's not what they're used to. And that makes a lot of sense. We are taught in schools and at universities or whatever, and performance reviews. I say this quite often. We're taught to fit into certain criteria that may or may not really be that relevant. They just reflect what the values were of the people who set the criteria. So if we're starting to shift a way of looking at things around relating to others, relating to ourselves, all of that kind of thing, bringing the heart back in, that's a very different criteria. So there will be a period of time where you are not directing people what to do, you're just shifting the viewpoint, getting people to think differently. And you may feel alone at first. It's saying you may feel alone, but you are well able, you have so much within you, you're well able to deal with that. This is bringing back a sense of, like, what I feel like here with the Six of Cups is like the sense of wonder we have when we're a child, when we think we are the superhero, or we think we are the alien, or we think we are many things and we play many roles. It's like if you feel a bit alone at sometimes with this, just reconnecting back with that wonder from when you were young will keep you going, because in the end it will create the community that you're meant to create, and you will get the harmony that you're meant to do. There's almost an innocence to what you're doing. As I say, a lot of the anti-diversity sort of politics, very, very cynical, very, very cynical. So this is getting back to something more pure and more innocent. So you won't be long alone or not knowing the direction. stick to the vision, because the vision is right. That will find your people. You're meant to find your relation, your love relationship, your family, your soul tribe, whatever it might be. So let's see how the two come together. The Emperor reversed. Yeah, it's the end of an old order. The Page of Coins and the creation of something new. And the Eight of Coins. And the learning. There's a learning. You're teaching people. You're teaching people a skill. And you may be developing the skill to present this information. But you're also teaching people a skill about understanding all that they could be and helping them manifest that. But it is about an old order falling. You're here for a new order that is more accepting and more of the heart. So as I say, I'm really happy people like you exist. So let's see what's helping you and what's potentially an adversarial energy. So firstly, let's have a look at a supportive energy. So this is someone else or another group of people. It's not you, but it's people around or a person around that will help you. The Cowgirl, I am enthusiastic to learn and grow. Okay, there's a thing in change. And as I say, this could be around, if this was a love relationship, it could be that the person that you meet is just as keen, the person that you love, just as keen to explore themselves. So that could be a lover. But if it's not that, if you are actually helping and teaching and preaching, there are in organisational change, we talk about people called early adopters, and they are people who can see the value in something and they want to take it forward, and they support you by going, yeah, tell me more, let's explore this more. So I think you will have early adopters or a very enthusiastic partner around this. So that's very, very sort of supportive and nice. And again, it has almost this sort of sense of almost from childhood, you could have a friend as well, friend from childhood who has always sort of, let's explore this, let's look into this. What about an adversarial energy or an energy that you need to move away from? The Space Pirate, I will find the silver lining in whatever life throws at me. Okay. There may be people who either, it's interesting the way she's shown sort of having a drink at a bar. She may be like, you know what, I'm just a law unto myself and I don't really care about, what would be a better world or what would be a better organisation or what would be a better work culture or what would be a better society. I'm just going to if I'm throwing lemons, I'm going to make lemonade and I'm just going to look after myself. There's a sort of a sense of, and I'm going to just take what I want. So I think that you may hit people who are not that interested in a better world, because they're quite happy in the world that they're in because they've sort of worked out how to navigate it for themselves. So I would be saying that situation, don't try and force it towards people. There are people who are, whether it's in love or whether it's in politics or whatever, who get something out of being against this sort of more open-hearted and more inclusive sort of thing. And they're a law unto themselves. And so I think just don't waste your time on those people. That would be what I would suggest. So let's get you some familiar spirits that could help you. If that's a friend and maybe an adversary in what you're doing, familiar spirits, sort of spirit animals that could support you. Hen, maternal approach. Well, that's interesting. That came up for one of the others. So I think a caring approach, energy, and nurturing and caring others. It fell where the Empress is. I think you have a natural caring and supportive approach. I think it's also saying that things like early education, what the mother says, all that kind of thing is very, very important to supporting this energy. And Swallow. There's been a real interchange of the same cards coming up across this. So some of you may have been called to more than one. Rebirth and hope. So you've got the maternal energy, rebirth and hope. This is maybe that you have won this sense of yourself through adversity and through not being accepted, and you now accept yourself and you're taking it out, and it's really bringing you beautiful relationships and a beautiful reward. But I think you bring the sense of nurturing and rebirth and hope to those that have been pushed aside or not seen or not understood. So that's really lovely. Let's see what chakra energy can keep you in balance. So either where you are really balanced that you can use things, or where you may need to adjust your balance to most get the benefit of this. Firstly, solar plexus. Okay, underactive. I do have low self-esteem right now. You know what? But you're on the way. Maybe you've seen some of your differences as being lesser than, and they're not. So this is a message very strongly. They're not. They're not lesser than. They're just as beautiful. And you are the unique you that you are, and nobody else can be that. And I think understanding it, but I think you might have gone through the low self-esteem, and I think you're rising out of that. And that's one of the reasons why you can actually be kind and help others. But you do need to know that you are beautiful. Then we have the third eye chakra. I see and feel anxious. Yeah, but you know the environment you're in. I think you can pick up. You're very sensitive to other people, so you can see what is wrong, and you're feeling anxious about it because you think, like, what if it won't be understood? But it will. It will be understood because you're coming from the truth. There might be these sort of people over here, and they do exist, but you're ultimately coming from the truth. And we have the solar plexus again. Okay, and then we have overactive. I do get narrow-minded. So the important thing is, this is, of all the readings, the one that feels the most, in a sense, social, political. It will potentially come out in relationships as well. And in a sense, the social and the political is personal and relational anyway. I think it's the sort of one where these are the things you need to be aware of where you could react if you weren't understood. And if you're taking your message out, you could turn on yourself. Don't do that. Don't have low self-esteem. You are beautiful. What you're doing matters. You might sense out, like people not getting it or whatever and feeling anxious. Turn that around. Turn your sensitivity and radar to how you will communicate with people and how you can show and walk the talk on the kindness. And if people are just not getting it yet, because it is going to be incremental, remember, with the Tower reverse. Don't get narrow-minded and decide those people are lesser than. You could probably even eventually turn the mind of the space pirate. They'd probably be the last one to get, but focus in on the ones who want to hear and listen to what they say. Don't become the thing you despise. The thing you always have to watch out for in anything that has a social, political thing is not to become the thing you despise. So what you're fighting against is narrow-minded stuff. So don't replace it with a new form of it when you're feeling that you're not being heard. Just keep moving forward because your message is pure and beautiful. Okay, so let's get you some stars to guide you as well. Gemini, versatility, self-expression, curiosity. Yeah, your capacity to communicate, very, very strong. Don't doubt that. And to see two sides of things and to balance difference. Gemini's are twins, lives with difference within. And Aries, commitment, competitiveness, courage and fearlessness. Yeah, and move forward with, you're doing something new, you're being an innovator, move forward with confidence because you can communicate, you really can. You're the person for this because you've lived it, it's your lived experience. And remember, Aries is the first sign, so you're innovating something. Okay, so let's just finish with a wild card from the Blue Dragonfly deck for anything else that Spirit wants to say about this. But I do think, as I say, this is a very beautiful energy, a really important energy in this world. So don't get out of balance here. Know that you're really about growth and freedom and rebirth and hope, and you represent that and believe that. And the outcome will be, a wonderful relationship, your soul family. There is a reward associated with this. So the final wild card energy for you. Wow, hot chocolate, flirting, friendship and feeling, new connections get together. Yeah, I do think if you aren't in a relationship, there's a lovely relationship coming in and it's like a reward. But beyond that, it's like you are going to find your people because you are about acceptance. So you will be accepted, but it's a bit of a journey sometimes when you're dealing with structures that are used to being very rigid and you're being much more open. But there's a reward for you. There's a sweetness to all this. There's a sweetness in you. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.